last weekend, Estonia played the Finland Bears in 2 T20i games in Finland. In the first game, Finland, at the drinks break, were in all sorts of trouble at 4 for 46. Then a 12-run over that included 2 drop catches saw Finland claw their way back into the game and put on a very respectable 139 for 6 wickets down, setting Estonia, of course, 140 for the win. Estonia could only manage 116 in reply, with Habib Khan top scorer with 31 off 30. In Game 2, Finland batted first and set Estonia 183 for the win. Estonia went close, finishing with 6 for 170. Arslan Gondal, 61 off 52, and Habib Khan, who was freed up and moved to the number 5 position, 51 off 26. And today we're lucky enough to have national coach Richard Cox join us on the show. So Richard, what did you think of the first game?
Yeah, I thought we'd made some good plans, Howie, before the game about wanting to see Finland on their own soil. So we were lucky enough to win the toss and stick them in. There'd been some overnight rain the previous day, so we were conscious that the field would be a little bit slow, but also we wanted to see the surface play and see how they played on it to give us a little bit of an idea of how we were going to approach things. But overall, I thought the first game, you know, we did very, very well in the first 10 overs, as you've just pointed out. And I think they were about 61 for 5 in the 11th over and everything to play for until we had these 2 drop catches. And then the back end of their innings, a couple of their lads kind of got together. I think one was 31 not out and the other one 22 not out. And that was probably the difference. The last 4 or 5 overs of that innings took their score up to, you know, as you say, 130. When we were hoping for about a 110, 120 score at that stage. And then the second half of the game, again, we started pretty well and then lost a bit of impetus in the second half. And it wasn't until Stuart Hook came in, got 25 of 18 balls, and we thought, hey, you know, we've got a chance. But in the end, you know, they were a little bit too strong for us with the ball at the end. They bowled really, really well. And we just couldn't accelerate in the last 4 overs to get past them. So it was a good workout and really good for me to see all of the lads in action and a much improved performance from when we were last together, which was in Cyprus at end of last year.
Yeah. So the team's moving forward, the positives were there, and of course you did mix up the batting lineup as well.
Yeah, we did. The second game, it's quite a lot of emotional energy to play 2 T20Is in a day and all the travelling that went with it before that. So we've got 5 or 6 key players in the team, like any team that plays international cricket around the world. And one of those players was Habib Khan, who's an outstanding talent. And we mixed it up in the second game, and Habib came in a little bit later, and boy did he really raise the stakes there, and we nearly got home. So we might have by chance discovered something that we'll use again in the tournament in a few weeks' time.
He looked great at number 5, and well, 51 off 26, I think, certainly a big tick for that decision.
Yeah, he did. It kind of worked in our favour in some ways, in that it went in just the right time. And sometimes with T20 cricket, the number that you bat doesn't actually matter. It's the moment when you go in and how you can affect the game, either with bat or ball. And you see that all around the world with franchise cricket and with T20 cricket now, that absolutely having the man or the woman there in at the right place at the right time is often more important than having a batting number, if you like. So that worked really well for us, but great to see Captain Arslan move up to open as well in the second game and get his 60-odd runs, and he really held it together fantastically.
And we had a couple of debutants as well.
We did.
One that I thought did really well was Elias Hassan.
He did. He's shaped well in some of the practice programs that we've been involved in, and when I was over a few weeks back, he looks like he's got a talent, and a talent for the shorter format of the game, either with bat or ball. And if we can kind of keep behind him as a young cricketer and keep working with him, I think he could elevate himself into quite an interesting performer for the T20 qualifiers.
So Richard, what was your standout moment in Game 2?
I think when you also need to look at the opposition. So Nathan Collins was very good in both games. He got runs in both games, and what he did was he kept the strike going really well. He rotated the strike very well, and he put the bad ball away. And he got 70 odd in the second game, I think 40 odd in the first game. But he was a good lesson that if you're going to go up the front, that you need to hold the innings together, and one player needs to bat as long as they possibly can. And I thought Arslan did that for us in the second game. So, you know, we're watching and learning that bit. Second thing for me was the outstanding partnership between Arslan and Habib. I think they put on an 80 odd runs, something like that. Yeah. And we got the Finns pretty worried. As they said to us after the end of the game, you know, we didn't expect that. Certainly in a game two. Sometimes when you win, you've got a bilateral series like this, you think that if you win the first game, you know, you've got a decent chance to probably steamroller in the second game. And we came back pretty strong there, because 180 odd is a pretty big score to chase.
Yes.
And so we narrowed that margin from the first game from 22 runs down to 12. And, you know, a couple of things gone our way in the last few overs, I think it would have been, you know, a really interesting finish. I think one of the things that I ought to pay tribute to is Murali, who bowled really well in the second game, 4 overs for just 20 runs. And he got the ball in very decent areas and made it difficult for their batters to score, including Nathan Collins. So that's something else that we've discovered for the middle of the innings, and I hope he'll repeat that, you know, in the tournament. On the downside of things, you've always got something to work on.
Yes.
And I think we highlighted that we can bat and bowl, because the scores tell us that. If we could be a little bit better and tighter in a few areas, it would be around our field setting and also the fielding generally. And we probably tired a little bit with the ball as the day went on, and we bowled a few more wides in the second game than we did the first game. And that can be the difference. You know, we bowled 12 wides, that's 12 extra balls, and 12 extra balls they can score runs off as well. So, you know, when you start to analyse the game, it's just fine margins. But I think there was every comfort for the people watching, for the players themselves, that, you know, this team is making some strides forward, but Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yes, very much. Now, myself, I was lucky to co-commentate with the Cash for both games, and I must say I was very impressed with the boys. I can see the progress well and truly in the side. The big point for me was that they didn't drop their head for the second game. Mm-hmm. You know, they actually were more than competitive, and let's face it, they could have near snatched a victory there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're interesting. We had a couple of hours on the ferry going over, and I took the opportunity to spend some time with the core, what you call the core of the team, and talk to them about their responsibilities over the two matches as players that are perceived in Estonian cricket to be the better players. Statistically, they've shown that they're the better players, and that's why they're on the trips. And that they now needed to stand up, and went through a few areas with them that, you know, things will get difficult, but if you stand up, then everybody else will look up to you. But if you start to crumble in any way, or moan and complain, or that kind of thing, then the whole pack of cards tends to fall over. And I'm really pleased that, you know, that's those 6 or 7 players that spent probably an hour on the boat talking through things and scenarios of what ifs. You know, when it did get tough, the majority of them did stand up, and I think it helped everybody else. You know, 4 debutants, I think it was, in the team as well.
Really good.
So they're really finding their feet, and they look up to these guys as we all did when we were youngsters. You know, you go into a team and think, well, if I can follow his lead and I can do what he does, then I might stay in this team longer. So just those small anecdotal stories about how you bring together teams and how you bring leaders together on the field to support the captain and Murali, who's probably the second most experienced leader in the team.
Yes.
I think that kind of steeled them a little bit, and then, you know, they went out and did it, which is what you want to see.
We were very lucky to have Jonathan Trott as the ECA ambassador, and I do know that you have quite a good working relationship with Jonathan. Yeah. How did that go? Yeah,
we had a great time, to be honest, and great to spend a weekend together. Obviously, I knew him as a player. We were both at Warwickshire County Cricket Club together for a long time. He joined the club in 2003. And I was there for probably 10 of those following years. So I watched him grow from a young man that came over from Cape Town, came and played a Warwickshire second 11 game, got selected very quickly. He'd been scouted by Bob Woolmer, sadly deceased Bob Woolmer, but an outstanding coach who both of us have got a lot of time for, and he'd worked with Trotty in Cape Town. And his first game, he scored 260 not out in a second 11 game, and he never really looked back from that moment. You know, it was always obvious to the naked eye that this bloke was hugely talented and driven as well to be even better and the best that he could be, and he obviously went on and proved that with a stellar career. But he's now finished playing in the last 2 years and has had a number of short-term coaching jobs. And as he came out of the game, he came to do his ECB Level 3 coaching qualification, which a lot of the players do in order to get on the rungs of the ladder. And I was fortunate to be his mentor for that 2 years that he was on the course. So we worked together on that. He completed that. And recently he's been with England Lions, working there with them and their batters and their fielders. And the last 2 years he's been as a consultant coach and now assistant coach back with Warwickshire at Edgbaston, which is fantastic. He's shortly off to do some work with Trent Rockets in the 100. So to have him over for the weekend was super for the lads, and to get him involved in the warm-ups and that kind of thing, and just small pieces of advice to the lads, and just to spend some time amongst Estonian players and in Estonian cricket, but also for him to see another world of cricket, which is part of his development as a coach. That, you know, he's played all his life in a stellar environment with England, with Warwickshire. And to get to see a national team but operating in a completely different way, and the things that you have to manage on a day-to-day basis, I think he really enjoyed it and fascinated by it all. So it was a very good move by Estonian Cricket to do it, and to get him over here on a match day or a match weekend, I think it's impactful. It's not just an ambassadorial thing, it's actually having some involvement. And it was great to spend some time with him as well and have a laugh.
Yes, well, I personally got to spend some time with him. We had a good chat. It was great to see him come over, and of course always good to see quality players giving back to the game.
Yeah.
And of course you also have a relationship with the Finland cricket side.
Yeah, long-standing actually.
Yeah.
I came over to Finland probably 10, 15 years ago. That was the first time I came over to Helsinki, and that was to work on behalf of what was then ICC Europe. ICC Europe no longer really exists. It's just ICC, and they have an office in London. And I was asked to do some presentations actually to Finnish government about the future of the game and where it was going, because they were beginning to develop what we saw over the weekend, which is a fantastic ground. And at that time, Andrew Armitage, I think, had just become chairman. But the more recently, one of the players that is playing for Finland right now and has been living and residing and working over there is Vanraj Padal, Vanny as everybody knows him. And Vanny grew up in Birmingham, which is where I'm from in the UK. And came through the county age group squads with Warwickshire, and always a talented individual and a fantastic person as well off the field. And he was an all-rounder at the time and very talented. Unfortunately, he got a back injury when he was about 17, 18, and he was in a very strong group of players as well. So, and then he just resorted to being a batter and a very good fielder after that. So he didn't manage to get up to the higher levels, and we were talking about it over the weekend that probably held him back from making the next steps had he taken on that mantle of an all-rounder. But he's still very much in touch with those people that played in that group. Some of them went on to play first-class cricket and have professional careers. And you know, the nicest thing he did over the games was to come over to the Estonian lads and say, well done. It would have been very easy for us all to just shake hands and walk off the field, but the manner of the man is that he came over and spoke to all of the players in our group and just said to them, really well done, you know, you're heading in the right direction, you're clearly making strides. And I think we probably were a little bit better than they expected over the weekend, and it was great for him to see that you know, we are making those strides, but then to come over and thank the boys and say well done.
Yeah.
He didn't get going in the 2 games himself, but I know that he will do, you know, in the tournament. They're not in our group, so we don't get to play them again. But yeah, Vanny's a good ambassador on and off the field for Cricket Finland. Very good.
Well, I personally think both games were played within the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
It was a good, hard-fought contest, but a lot of respect out there.
Yes, there was indeed. Yeah, and I think the lads are getting to know one another. It's a sort of a derby game, isn't it, in many ways, just over the water. And hopefully there'll be many more of those series to come, you know, over the years in front of us.
Great. Well, again, thank you to Richard for coming and having a chat with us today. So, of course, no cricket this weekend due to Yanipav holiday, and we will be back the following week with the T20 and, of course, the high 40-40 over competition.